Joe, thank you so much for coming on a Saturday. I mean, this is Friday on the podcast, but it's Saturday. So thank you so much for doing that. So we know
Yeah,
each.
no, I appreciate the time. Yeah,
Oh yeah, thank you.
sorry.
Sorry, yeah, there's like a little bit of delay for some reason. It might be my internet. Um, so we just met through Ben, just virtually. Ben is the producer of this podcast. And how do you guys know each other? Have you worked together?
We have worked together a little bit, but the first way I met him was through this men's group called Conscious Man that we're a part of together. And it's I met him through that. We had an event out in I forget what exactly the location was, but he was doing all someone, his cousin at the time was at the event, and he had been, because he's a photographer, right, and videographer, they asked him to kind of take some pictures or whatever, and then he actually ended up participating a bit, and then got to know him a little bit through that, and he's just, what can I say? You can't talk good enough about Ben. I mean,
I
the guy
know.
is so giving, so caring. Uh,
Yeah,
like, you almost have to have a spray bottle. No, don't help.
I know.
No, like he's just
I know.
he's almost too nice, right? He's a wonderful man. So
He's amazing.
and
Yes.
I met him through that. He ended up there's multiple days at the groups, but and then he was a part of our last weekend, and he came to last weekend. But yeah, he started joining the group that was the younger guys that was formed on Monday, and we've just been growing to really connect with each other. He's seen a lot of me. He's seen a lot of good in me, and he's seen a lot of my potential. And then he's kind of helping me with my fledgling podcast that I've been dragging my feet on doing. And then
Oh,
and he's just, what can I say? The guy sees good in people, and he really is willing to put his best foot forward. And he's just,
yeah.
I
Yeah.
really can call him a brother.
He's
He's just a good
yeah.
person.
Yeah, he's a great guy. Everybody that I have on this podcast that I've met through Ben says the same thing. Everyone's like, he's so amazing. He's the best guy ever. Like he is.
Mhm.
He's one of a kind. So
Mhm.
you're a personal trainer, and we have something in common where I don't work for Equinox anymore, but I worked for Equinox for 6 years as a personal trainer, and you work there as a personal trainer. And then for those of you who, are an Equinox member, which location are you at?
I'm over at Equinox in Westlake Village.
Oh, Westlake. Okay. Oh, so you know Colin. Do you know Colin
Mhm.
Donahue? Yeah, that's my homie.
Yeah, love Colin.
Yeah, Colin and I, fun story. Colin was my first boyfriend when I moved to LA. He was my first friend, my
Wow.
first boyfriend. We dated for like 6 months, and then and we're still friends, and we still catch up every once in a while. He was like, yeah, he was like the
He's an
first
extremely free
person
spirit.
to, yeah, he was the first person to friend me in LA. So shout out to Colin. He's an amazing guy. Is he still at that
Well,
location?
that's a good person to be the first friend.
He
I
really
think he
is.
recently is doing his own. He went completely private and doing his own
Okay.
thing. He was there for what, 10 years? He's
Yeah,
a
a long
TRX
time.
guy. He
Hmm.
worked his way all the way up, right? And so,
Hmm.
and I've talked to him multiple times. Like, I really appreciate his view on training. It's a very organic view. It's a very spiritual view around training.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
everything is about connection and how one thing moves to the other. And that's kind of the way my mind works as well. But he takes it to a whole new level, and that's his thing, right?
Yeah.
I see him. He's doing some Twitch stuff where he'll like do like a fitness stream, right? It's awesome.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. He's amazing. Okay, so I want to get into your story a little bit because so for those of you that don't know, Joe, you are in a wheelchair. You got hit, right? You were in a car accident.
Hmm.
Yeah, and
Yeah, I
so
was in
I
a
would,
car accident, so I guess I'll roll back here
yeah. So I would
and you
love
can
to just
see.
like, yeah, yeah. So I would love to just know because I don't really like know. Ben told me a little bit about you, but I would just love for you to tell your story of how where you came from and when the accident happened and what made you become a personal trainer. I'm just so fascinated by stories like yours, and I just really want to hear your story. So whatever you would like to share, I would like to hear.
I appreciate it. Now, I mean, one thing you probably already got is I'm a rambler. Forgive me. I will try to be straight to the point on things. You can ask Ben. My nickname is the mayor. So grandstanding and talking is apparently a skill of mine. So to answer your question, I was born and raised in Bowling Green, Kentucky. I've actually only been out here in California for, see here, a year and a half now. I first moved out here in December 30th of 2019. So right after the fires and right before COVID. So I got
Oh no.
little taste of the Equinox life, and then COVID happened. But yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm from Kentucky, and so I didn't get paralyzed till I was 19. So I got to do my whole freshman year of college and all that stuff. I grew up. I did all the things. My dad coached the football team, Little League football. I did Little League baseball. I played competitive racquetball growing up too. So every weekend I was in a different state, in a different city doing racquetball. Uh, my dad was a substance use counselor. So if I wasn't doing that, then I was he used to have morning breakfast at this halfway house, right?
Mhm.
So when I was a kid, I'd go to these rough guys that people aren't used to seeing, and that are people are kind of scared away from. And I'm like, oh man, hey, how you doing? How you doing,
Yeah.
Roosevelt? Right? And so I was very introduced to being around being friendly and being open, right? It's kind of just
Mhm.
something I grew up with. And again, I've always been an athlete. Personal training wasn't even something that I even thought about doing growing up. I didn't really have a goal. I think for me, I was just kind of going one step in the other. I was just enjoying life, playing football, doing whatever. So my father was an alcoholic. So a lot of my decisions were based out of just trying to escape that atmosphere, right? My parents divorced when I was 15, and so that led to a lot of emotional strain, a lot of struggle. Didn't really have a lot of direction as a man from my father because he was out of it. He's out of it drinking. He was passed out in bed before I even really could talk to him, right? Or he was at work, right? So really, me and my brother kind of raised ourselves from the age of like 15 on. I mean, my mom was in the picture heavily, but she lived in another state when she moved out. We chose to live with my dad because it was convenient.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
but it was, right. So it was just something that we worked with. I mean, even at one point, my dad went to rehab for a year and a half, and me and my brother for my junior year, it was just me and my brother living in the house.
Wow. How old
So,
was your brother at the time?
we pretty much a year older than me. So I'm 27. So at the time, he was like 17. So
Oh, and you
17.
guys are on your own.
And, and we were on our own. So, I mean, we had money for groceries and stuff like that. But I mean, other than that, it was just going to school, going to football, or whatever. We had enough friends, and we were, my dad was very well known in the community, like, unfortunately, but fortunately he was. But so, like, having people to help us out and to really have a helping hand was never a problem. But it's just we didn't get that fathering that we really needed to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, my mom was a loving soul. My stepdad's wonderful, but it's just not the same. So
Mm-hmm.
athletics was always my outlet. Football, football was always my way. That was like my first sport that I really felt good at. So until I got into cheerleading. And so with cheerleading, I got into a bit later and then ended up becoming really good at that. And I sunk my teeth into it, right? If I wasn't
What
playing
made you,
football, I was at the
yeah,
gym.
I was
So,
sorry.
you know,
What made you get into cheerleading after doing all the sports and football and what?
so So yeah, shout out to my buddy Chris Barnett, beautiful man. He's a barber out in Louisville right now. Hit him up if you're ever interested. I think it's, oh my gosh, I want to give him a shout out, but I think it's Vivid. Yeah, I think it's like Vivid Barbershop. But anyways, big guy, you know, his beautiful smile, and he's just talking crap. I was in the gym, and I was a freshman at the time in high school, and he's just talking crap. He's like, "Oh, you can't do it," you know. Coach Wallace, their head coach, he's like, "Oh, you're one of Coach Wallace's, you know, whatever." And I was like, "Whatever, man." And so I ended up showing up to practice one day, thinking I'm all big and strong, you know, whatever. And I couldn't even lift the girl past my waist, you know. So I fell in love with it from there, right? And then it was also, I was super insecure and, you know, and super uncomfortable around girls, like super uncomfortable. Had no idea how to talk. And then, but that kind of really helped me. I got familiar. It made me feel normalized, right? And then I was good at it. And that was the thing. Like football was like the first thing, and then cheerleading was the second, you know, athletic thing that I did. I'm like, wow, I'm actually pretty good at this. And well, not at first, but at least in the mean, right? So kept doing that. You know, cheerleading became like a big thing in my life. It became something that I saw as an avenue for me to go out to make money, as an avenue for school. A major or any sort of education for me was really kind of useless, because the only thing I was thinking about, that was just a way I could do cheerleading. So, and that's how I landed where I landed. So I graduated high school, ended up getting a scholarship to Morehead State University, and, you know, ended up starting my cheerleading career there. You know, I had a normal freshman year. It was extremely fun, so many parties. You know, a lot of class I don't remember. Wasn't the best student, you know.
So you
And
definitely
I
like
passed.
yeah, I was gonna say so cheerleading and everything kind of like helped you get comfortable talking to girls, and you know, felt more like confident in who you were, and then you go to college and it sounds like you were pretty popular and just had a really good time your freshman year of college.
Yeah, it was definitely a fun time. I mean, it is, what can I say? Like I was on Morehead State at the time. They had 12, it was 11 national championships, and so it's like we were known to be good, and it was my first sense of having like validation for like my skills, you know, and like I worked hard and I enjoyed what I did, and I was doing it all the time. I was in heaven, right? And so cheerleading was my life. Like it was my escape from my father. Oh, because if I wasn't cheerleading, I was playing football. If I wasn't playing football, I was in the gym. So exercise was always that emotional outlet, that component, which will come in later. And, you know, and that's the thing. Like we won nationals my freshman year. I got to be on mat my freshman year and compete, and I got the ring, and everything's going great. And then we had tryouts, and then we had tryouts for my second year, and then I was going to start working for this cheer company that shout out to Bill Mayo, Coach Bill, and he's a Metro cop out in Louisville now, and CrossFit coach too, think about it. But you know, I was going to work for his company, and then I was visiting home at the time, and I was on my way home. So home was Clarksville, Tennessee at the time, and then I was visiting Nashville, and on the way back, my back right tire blew. The car, it was a little GMC work truck. So if you don't really know it, that's a 2-door work truck. I mean, like a small breeze could blow the tailgate. Like it's a tiny truck. Back right tire blew, and then tailboat whipped. Car went to the side of the road. Car rolled, and then fell. You know, I woke up upside down. You know, all in black. Couldn't feel my legs, and so. I had the girl I was dating at the time was in the car. She rolled with the car and she walked away. She got pretty banged up herself, but you know, she walked away, and I woke up in the hospital the next day.
Oh my gosh. That's so insane. See, you just never know. Like what that's crazy. So what was that feeling of like waking up in the hospital and not being able to feel your legs, and did they know right away that you were going to be paralyzed or?
So, I mean, I don't remember much when I was under the car. I just remember, you know, I was very emotional. I was telling the girl I was with, and it was Rachel. I was like, I love you. I love you. It needs to be okay. I can remember I could barely breathe, and because I had no awareness where I was at. I just knew I was upside down and it was dark, and I knew I couldn't feel my legs. And it was a very surreal feeling because like you're trying to move hard as you can, and it was like I was stuck. It was like I was stuck in mud that was like, or it was like I was stuck in cement. That's what it felt
Oh
like. And
gosh.
then I just remember hearing someone's voice, and they're like, "Can you crawl out? Can you do anything?" I was like, "I'm paralyzed." And then I woke up in the hospital. But that's the thing. Like it never hit me. It never hit me yet. I thought this was, in my mind, it was just, I was completely blanking out the idea that I wasn't walking again.
Mhm. Well, how do
And,
you accept? I
you
mean,
know,
like, how do you accept that? Like that would be so hard to accept, I think, in the beginning. I mean,
yeah, yeah, I don't really think there's much you can do to accept it, right? I mean,
yeah.
it was so drastic. It was instant. And it's like, at the time I was driving my girlfriend home and then bam, right? I mean, that
Wow.
following day I was going to work at cheerleading camp, right?
Mm,
I mean, so like I just remember being in the hospital, and that's the thing. Like I was in the hospital, they had me on so many drugs. Like
mm,
I was having visions. I was having like these wild, imaginative dreams of just. I mean, to the point to where I didn't know where I was, where I was at. I mean, the
mm,
first cognitive memory I remember was this beautiful man who was washing my hair. Like that's it. I was just like,
mm.
this person is wonderful. Whoever you are, thanks for this.
Oh,
Because I was just felt disgusting and like I was out of it.
mhm.
And this guy was giving me washing my hair, and I was like, that's the first thing I remember. And
Oh,
so the only other thing yeah, and after that, it was just movies and trying to work up to the. Apparently, I had to graduate to eating applesauce, and that was that was like my first kind of uh, you know I guess cognitive ideas. But even then, it was okay, you know I'm just in the hospital. That's all it was. I guess I'm in a car crash. That's all it was. Now moving forward, but that's the thing. Like that's what I'm telling you. But that conversation wasn't even happening. Like the
mhm,
idea that I was even never walking again, my whole life has changed, wasn't even happening. Like it barely, even when I was in physical therapy later on,
mhm,
the idea of me walking again was still something that like, oh, I'm going to heal up. And
mhm,
then it didn't really hit me fully until I moved back to live with my mother. And while I was healing up, and you know, when I couldn't even control my bathroom situation,
mhm,
it was like a roll of the dice whether or not I needed to change my pants that day. So,
mhm, mhm,
and sometimes it'd be like multiple days a week. Sometimes my
mhm.
mom was the one who had to help me do some things, right? So
Wow. Yeah.
it was, and it just, yeah, it put me in a very low place. I mean, I tried to ignore it with video games and schoolwork because I was still doing online classes. I never stopped school,
Mhm,
and but it was just yeah, I was in this kind of like comfortable bubble of non-reality,
mhm,
and yeah, and just the only thing that really got me out of that and kind of made me realize where I was like when I would go out in public, and then it just kind of like slowly but surely kind of just sunk in. And then from then I just kind of started developing this acceptance around it. It's like of okay, this is where I'm at, and this is what I'm going to be doing. And then, I had my dark moments. Don't get me wrong, but it was like once I developed that acceptance about where I was,
mhm,
and that moving and that this kind of like okay, I don't know how I was able to. I don't know why I was able to, but it's just that's what happened. It's like I'm accepting where I'm at and I'm moving back to school. Like that's what happened because after I spent 7 months living with my mom when I should not have moved back that early. I had so many problems,
Oh.
and but so many problems. But physically, and I nothing was going right. I didn't really quantify. And this is just me. I'll just say yes, I'm doing this, and then like, oh, details. What are
Oh
those?
yeah.
So,
Yep. I hear
right.
you.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like, oh, I'm gonna have to roll to class. Well, what if I can't find a bathroom? Uh, Got to figure that one out. So you have to, I had to learn how to war game. I had to learn how to figure things out. What's the next step? And, learn how to listen to the body that was whispering to me instead of yelling at me like normally, right? And so when half of you you can't listen to, and when the feelings that you are listening to are whispering and really quiet and you don't even know if they're real, things get kind of hard. But it's just, I was very fortunate. I was surrounded by really good people. The wedding that I'm going to in Lexington, Kentucky next weekend is my roommate, Chase Johnson. And, that man, he didn't give me slack. He was understanding, but he, he didn't pity me. He never pitied me. He was very hard on me. He required me to pick up my side of the bargain. And if I didn't have that man going back to live with, it would have been, I don't know where I would be. I really don't, because he gave me that he had his boundaries on what he needed and what he needed for me. And that I needed that a lot.
Yeah, it sounds like he didn't treat, like, I think that in that situation, and it sounds like you were really strong in the whole situation. I don't know how many people would be that strong. And it sounds like once you got it in your mind, this is my new reality, it sounds like a switch went off and you just accepted it, and you were learning how to manage now with these new circumstances that you had. But it sounds like it would have been very easy for you to be the victim, and I think it would have been easy for like your roommate and people around you to like treat you like a victim. But it sounds like you didn't have that mindset, which is amazing. And it sounds like he didn't treat you like that. He was just like, no, you're still, like I think that's amazing, because it can be very tricky, I think. And I was in a car accident when I was 8, and being young and having that happen, like I was hit by a drunk driver, my family and I was in the hospital off and on for a year and had a few surgeries on my stomach, and it could have been a lot worse, than it was. But at the time, it felt like a huge deal. I mean, they had to remove half my small intestines, part of my colon, part of my spleen, and they left my stomach open for a few months, and then did a skin graft and left that for a year. And then I had to learn how to walk again, eat again, the whole thing. And it took a long time to recover. And I played the victim a lot being young. I kind of took advantage of it. And in my mind thought, I can't do this because of my accident. I can't do that because of my accident. And then people around me treated me like a victim too. And it, as much as I love my family for being there every second of it, it didn't help me mentally that people treated me like a victim. And it just fed into this, I can slack off with everything in life, schoolwork, physical activity, everything, because I have this card to play. And it didn't do me any favors, and it made it harder on me in the end. So my point is, it sounds like you had, this great opportunity to live with your roommate who was like, no, you're going to get through this, and you're going to be just fine. And I'm not worried about you. And that must've helped your mindset a lot.
No, it helped me quite a bit, and I resonate. And that's the thing, though. Like, I want to make this known. Like, I am not perfect by any means. And one thing I have learned about when any sort of extreme event like happening, no matter how strong you are, that victim card, is like right there, just waiting for you to take it. Mm-hmm. And it's, and I've been there. I've taken that card before, many a time. But it's like, it just doesn't feel good because, and then not only that, but then you develop that resentment towards that person who let you use the card.
Well, and because, right? You're capable. I think that's, sorry, that's because, you're capable. And so when you play that card, you don't have to, because how strong you are, mentally, physically, that you can, but it's just
Mm.
sometimes like sounds good at the time, convenient for whatever reason. But like, I
Yeah.
think the reason it sounds bad is because you
Yeah.
know that you're capable of so much more when you play that card.
Oh, right. And that's the thing. And it's especially when, for me, like my brother, for instance, and we've always butted heads. We didn't have a good relationship growing up, but gladly through our separation, as we got older, we came back together, it got better. It's still not perfect, but that's the thing, though. I know he's there for me no matter what, right? He might complain a little bit, but he's there, right? But I know for me, it's, you know, it's so easy with family. It's so easy with family, right? Because like they'll be there for you, and that whatever, or you can just kind of skip out on this one little thing. But
Mhm.
it's like those are those little steps. They're baby steps, but then out of nowhere, you're just like you're fed into this mindset. And
Mhm.
then not only that, but then you outwardly project that resentment of yourself on others, and then you create this bubble of just pain around you, and that doesn't help anyone. It doesn't help you,
Right.
and there is a poem that helped me through, and if anything, is what helped me flip that switch. And it's what my father told me growing up, which is it's called Thinking by Walter Wintle. And I won't say the whole thing, but the phrase that I like the most, which is, think big and you'll find a way, think small and you'll fall behind. Success begins with a fellow's will. It's all in the state of mind.
Mhm.
And I'm getting goosebumps just saying it. It's just
Mhm.
because that's what my father taught me and told me from the youngest age, even before when he fell off the wagon and got back into being an alcoholic, but that's what I grew up with, right? And it's that seeped into my mind and was something that I either said to myself or, people who knew me or knew that said to me because they heard me say it. And it's just,
Mhm.
at least in some form or fashion, right? But
Mhm.
it's just, that poem it's held me through in so many
Mm.
situations. And then just being so fortunate into being able to have just very good people surround me. I can't say it enough about how I've had so many people to give me a chance. And, and what I found for myself is like the more responsibility I took for myself, the more chances I got. It's like you're more likely to help someone who's pushing their own car than you are for someone who's just complaining and like,
Mhm. Mhm.
right? And so,
Yep.
I didn't always push my own car, but at least the times that I did, I got more help.
Yeah. That's amazing. And it sounds
Yeah.
like your dad, although, with him being an alcoholic, it sounds like he still made such a positive impact in your life. Um, did he ever get sober, or are you guys close, or?
No. No, he ended up passing away from his addiction
Oh, I'm so
2 years
sorry to
ago.
hear that.
It's very unfortunate, but for me, it's going to sound pretty morbid, but I'm actually pretty happy for him. He's finally free from his demons.
Mm.
My father was, my father lived a very bright life, but he lived a bright life, and he had also a very big shadow, and then shadow's what got him. So
Mhm.
I use my father and myself as an example of what happens when you do not take responsibility for yourself and your actions. It's just as much good as he wanted to do for the world, and that he did do for the world. My father changed a lot of lives,
Mhm.
kept a lot of people from death's door. And I remember many a time having conversations with people who are suicidal, the willingness that he would go for his clients. But when you're in the helping people field, it's so easy to use that as a mask for yourself so you can avoid your own pain. And that's what I saw with him. And it's just,
Mhm.
for me, that's one of the reasons for the men's work that I got into. It's about having that reflection to do your own work, because if you don't do your own work, how can you help anyone else? Right.
Mhm.
And it's like, that is something that I know I'm saying that now. And it's like, I'm saying that as a reminder for myself. It's like, dude, keep doing your work.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah,
What things are you keeping in the fog, right? And then chipping those
definitely.
away, like my organization, which needs to improve way more.
Yeah, but that's the thing about life, right? Like, it's such a every day we have that decision, and to better ourselves or to not, and it's just an ongoing thing, and it doesn't stop. And um, it would be so easy. I mean, just thinking of so many times in my life, like the accident where I easily could have kept playing that victim card and never have done anything about my life and use that as an excuse, but luckily something changed in my mind where I said I don't want to do this lifestyle anymore. I kind of had a drinking problem when I was young because I didn't know how to cope with everything that I was going through. So I started turning to alcohol. My dad, before I was born, was an alcoholic, but got sober before I was born and has never touched alcohol my entire life. But addiction kind of runs in my family, and it could have easily gone that way. But I had this moment of like, I need to change my life. I need to get right because I know I'm better than this. And but I could have easily gone the other way. And then when I moved out to LA, I was homeless and I was living in my car, and I could have very easily gone a completely different way in life. But again, like, I made that choice, and I make that choice every day to better myself and do therapy and do meditation and all of these things that I do every day, that a lot of us do every day. But it is very easy for us to do the opposite. And it's just interesting, like, training, I love helping people. Sometimes they help me more than I help them. Sometimes I help them just with my experiences and my life. And it's a very cool, like, industry to be in, because I feel like a lot of clients, like, I help them in a lot of ways, and they tell me I saved their marriage in some way, or I've saved, whatever it is. And I'm like, me? I feel like I'm still figuring myself out. But then I have clients that completely, like, I feel like they help me more than I help them. It's a very cool thing to see. But, like, yeah, every day I feel like we have to constantly work on ourselves and make each other better. And along with that, I feel like you meet people that come into your life, and you're able to help them because of the experiences that you've gone through. And so I'm sure, like, being a trainer, you've touched a lot of people's, life with your experiences and your story.
Yeah, I mean, I truly hope I have, right? I mean, you know, you it's so funny you say that sometimes you're the one who gets taught, or that someone fills your cup, right? When you're a trainer, and it's because we work with people. That's the thing,
Mm-hmm.
we're people. Like, even if you're an introvert, eventually you got to break out of it, because
Yeah.
if you're a personal trainer, you're talking and being with people, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I find myself, it's so funny that you'll end up having a client, you're like, that's just the right, perfect client for you at that time, because, they just in some way pour into your cup more than you ever thought. And you're just like, I'm not training them, they're teaching me about life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, and, and it's a beautiful thing as a trainer, because you get to see so many people where they're at, and, give them space to be where they're at, or they give you space to be where you're at, right? I mean, it's some of the best life advice I've gotten is just from my clients, right? So
Yep.
and you never know. And because for me, I hope, my hope with my clients, and my hope with anyone that I talk to, or hope that I touch in some positive way, is, showing them what their potential is, right? I think, and the funny thing is, I remember a quote when I was in high school football from my coach, Kevin Wallace, and he had a very curious view on saying potential. And he said, potential, saying someone has potential, it's almost like a nasty word. It's almost like something bad to say, because it means they haven't met it yet.
Mm-hmm.
And that just hit me so hard. And I will never forget that. And it's like, I got potential, but that they're not doing anything with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so my thing is, like, I want to show people that they can make those steps towards that,
Mm-hmm.
because in a way, that's, as a trainer, you're outwardly wanting to see the examples of what you hope for yourself, If I can help train and teach this person, then I can do better for myself. Right. And that's almost when it breaks your heart when you can't help a client because you're like, shoot, I'm failing, I'm doing this wrong, it's just not working, it's a crack in my armor. Right? So, but it's right. And, but it's just, it's either way, it's being able to be open, being able to show somebody how to get through those roadblocks and give them the tools. And, it's a beautiful thing. And I know I'm very happy and proud to be able to do it.
Yeah. What made you decide to be a trainer? You've accepted this new life that you have, and you were used to being active your whole life. So did you, as soon as you could, just get back into the gym, and how did you come to the conclusion that this is what you were meant to do with your life?
Yeah, but getting back into the gym begrudgingly to my doctors.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I never really stopped training per se. Shoot, I'm not trying to be gross or anything, but I ended up having a bed sore and on my rear, and I didn't know how to not try to be doing something physical. And I just remember after I moved back home, I healed up enough to wear, because I had this big plastic brace I had to wear. And I was at Clarksville Athletic Club in Tennessee. I was trying to do a bench press. Right, my brother was with me at the time, and he was doing off his thing, and you need help, and my pride was like through the roof. I'm like my first time being in there, I got a bed ulcer the size of like a silver dollar, bleeding everywhere, and then I'm thinking I can do a bench press with no abdominal strength at all. So I'm getting on this thing. Like, I used to bench before. I was like, okay, I could rip out 225 for 20. I was benching 400 and all this stuff. And I get on there, I put a 25 on each side. I get on, I try to press it, my legs start flipping around because of spasticity, and I fall off the bench. Right. Yeah. So, I had a little learning experience. I got a few stories like that. Right. So, but being a personal trainer, it's really something I didn't think about doing. Originally, I wanted to be a strength coach for a football team or, some sort of sports team. Once I did graduate, I was trying to look for master's programs, and I had no actual idea what the reality of what that would look like, right? So, because it's one thing to get in, but there's one thing to actually oh, wait, I could live and eat and work, and how am I going to do that, and all this stuff, and what does it look like? And so at the time, it's just not something I thought was feasible. Right now, looking back, it's complete BS. If there's a will, there's a way, but it wasn't something that I planned well enough for. And so because of that, it did not become an option at the time. And so I ended up moving back. And originally, before I even became a strength coach, I went to college because I wanted to be a trainer, like taping ankles and, talking crap to athletes, healing them up after injuries. Like, that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And that was for me, it's being in the training room is probably one of my favorite things. Just because you're in the athletes, you're talking, you're shooting crap all day, you're, doing the ankle, doing the exercises, they're young. So there's always some funny story from something or whatever from a party the night before. It's just, it's this fun, jovial, just atmosphere. Right. And then you're healing them up to help them play again. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that just, I wanted to do that. And so I kept that in mind, but I want to be a strength coach, but I couldn't find a job doing that. And so I ended up doing therapeutic exercise for a chiropractor. And as a side gig, I ended up actually becoming a facilitator for this program called mental recognition. I don't think that's an actual word, but that's what they called it, mental recognition therapy. And it's a character development program for prison inmates. I actually ended up doing that for 6 months, along with my therapeutic exercise work with the chiropractor. I worked with sex offenders and violent offenders, everyone from people who have run into houses on meth to pedophiles. So in this character development program, I did that for 6 months. And that taught me a lot about myself. It taught me a lot about, responsibility and, how am I supposed to tell these guys about character development? Like, I didn't know what, like what about myself? Like I got to be a leading example. And then on top of that, how am I supposed to relate to these men?
Mm-hmm.
And that I could ramble on about that for a while, but either way, that taught me a lot. It taught me a lot about myself, a lot about more personal responsibility and reflection. But then when that ended, because of some legislation changes, I ended up needing another job. Well, I was already doing therapeutic exercise for a chiropractor, and a local gym I've been working out for years off and on ended up hiring me, and then started training, right? And so it was kind of something as like a need to for money, and then I'm like, man, I really enjoy this. And then I was already doing the physical therapy stuff, or not physical therapy, but therapeutic exercise stuff at the chiropractor. And I love therapeutic exercise, don't get me wrong, and healing people up, but there's one thing to be doing that, but there's one thing to be training people who wanting to be there and wanting to be better.
Mm-hmm.
And not to say that doesn't happen in physical therapy and therapeutic exercise, but it's just in the gym setting, it's just a whole different scenario.
Mm-hmm.
And I fell in love with it. And, that ended up taking more of my time. Ended up, after 2 years working for the chiropractor, I was actually doing some personal training there as well. But business ended up getting really slow. I'm not the one controlling the people coming in. And so I went from seeing 16 people to 2 people a day. And so it was about time to move on, and then started personal training even more. Again, this was all in Bowling Green, Kentucky. And my brother called me up in August of 2019, and he's like, do you have a reason to tell me not to move out to California? And I was like, well, not really. So I said yes, and then I was looking for jobs and landed on 3 different places, Equinox being one of them, and kept in touch with the recruiters and kept, staying in touch and, doing interview after online interview, phone call interview. And then I landed, dotted all my I's and crossed my T's, scrounged up all the money I could, and then drove myself. And my mom flew from Mexico, actually. She wanted to drive with me. So I'm like, all right, Mom, let's do it. And so my mom and me drove across country from Bowling Green, Kentucky, all the way to California in my little Ford Focus with a trailer on the back that had no business being there. My transmission did almost fail in Oklahoma. That was scary. And and then made it to California, and then landed here through. I got over the border through into Needles, California, December 6th. And, the next morning at my brother's house, and the next week did an interview with Equinox, and then started working December 30th.
Wow. So I'm like, as you're telling your story, we have so much in common that it's pretty crazy. Just our dads, just our dads, like, both being alcoholics, but thankfully, like, for me, I didn't see that side of him, but he tells me stories, and we still, like, had our issues growing up, but we're good now. But just, like, doing that and then going through the car accidents and overcoming that, and finding that we, wanted to be personal trainers and help people and change their lives. And then coming to LA, I came in a Ford Focus in December.
No way.
I did.
No way.
Yep. I had a Ford Focus.
If you tell me it's a hatchback, I'm going to die.
No, it was like a little Ford Focus. It barely ran. It had, like, you can ask Colin. He was like, laugh at me because it barely had any paint on it. It was supposed to be green, but it had, like, no paint, and it barely ran. Like, they called it, like, the massage seats or the massage car because it had an issue. I don't remember what it was, but it would, like, vibrate a lot when it was on. You'd, like, shake the whole time. And
Yep. Mine does that too.
I had, like, I had ended it with a boyfriend, and he had bought me a Mercedes, and so when we broke up, like, he got that, and I had no car, and so I had $2,000 to my name. I went to a auction with my dad and my uncle. I bought this car for like $1,000 and threw new tires on it and came to LA. Got the job at Equinox, but like had nowhere to live, and I was like living in this little Ford Focus for a while, and so it's just really funny because the things you're telling me, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, we kind of like we have a lot of stuff in common. So it's just really, it's funny. You talk to the Ford Focus. But yeah, so what I love about your story is, and like being a trainer is, we have so many, I'm sure you've experienced this, like, and it's interesting, like, I would love to for your clients to complain at all to you about anything, because the thing I love, and the reason why I love working out every day, is because it almost got taken from me, right? Like I said, my accident, I'm fortunate, like I still have some issues, but I'm fortunate that it wasn't worse and that I'm still here. And I know a lot of, people that can't be at, my dog is awake. She's barking. Sorry. But I know a lot of people that can't work out physically, because they're paraplegic and so I just feel very blessed to be able to move and use my body. So I'm going to, for the ones that can't do it, because I almost couldn't do it. And when my clients tell me that they don't feel like working out, I get frustrated at them, because I'm like, you can move though. Like, there are people that would love to be in your position, and they're not.
Yep.
And so you do it for those that can't, and you do it because you're blessed to be able to move your body, and you need to take care of it because it's precious, and we only get, as far as we know, one life. So it's like, you got to make the best of it, and treat your body with respect. And so, like, I love that you didn't use that victim card, and you got into the gym, and I love that you, like, kind of fell a few times, and got right back up, because you could have easily, like, just said, yeah, I can't do this. But the fact that you, in your mind, were like, I'm still strong and I could still do this. I have my whole life, and you just got in there anyway. Says a lot about you and your character, and yeah, and I think you make an amazing trainer, because, like I said, you get, like, who's going to work out with you and go, yeah, I don't feel like doing this today? Like, when they see how amazing you are and you don't use anything as an excuse, like, how can anyone you meet, like, have an excuse as to why they don't want to better themselves?
I appreciate it. You honor me. I appreciate it. And, ironically, you say just about falling. I don't. That was so funny. I was at this gym in Oxnard, and so I finagle myself on machines I have no business being on. but when you're trying to do some back movements and you're limited to what you can use, you figure it out. So I was getting on this hammer strength row thing, and my leg spasmed while I was on my way up. This thing's like good 5 feet up. I fell off. And I fell off in the middle of the gym, right? And it was so funny because Sean Roden, the IFBB Pro, Mr. Olympia, like 2018, he was right there next to me, and I'm just like, I'm not like a fan or anything, but like, my leg got stuck. My ankle got stuck in between the seat. I'm like, you mind? He just like puts my foot out.
Oh my God.
Oh, so funny. And, for me, it was a really cool moment for me, because, like, before, I would have been mortified, like, I would have been mortified. Shoot, I was in Equinox. It was the second week of opening. No, like, some of the new members, they don't know me, and there's a few of the old ones that do, but I was there for 2.5 months, ramping up to build my business, and then COVID. So it's like, there's a lot of people that didn't see me. And this guy, he's a new member, and then I'm doing bicep curls, and I guess I missed holding the back of the thing, and I just fall right out of the thing, right off the thing.
Oh my
He
goodness.
doesn't know I'm a trainer, and I'm falling off the thing.
Well, I would
So,
look at you and go,
you
this
know,
guy's amazing and he's determined. I love that. Ah.
yeah, I appreciate it. And it was funny. It was funny because I'm just like, yeah, you mind help me up here, man? You mind? So, and but you just get humbled every day, and
Yeah.
it's the COVID. That's the thing. COVID has taught me too. It's hindsight's 2020. For sure, and it's almost a cliche. We've been saying that, right? Because it was 2020 for most of this, and with Equinox being closed and they were supporting us, it was great, but it still wasn't the same as growing your business, and so you had to figure out other stuff to do, and being able to shift and be able to change that trajectory is something I struggled with quite a bit, right? I was very latched on to Equinox and what they can do, and should I even try to really build a private business, or should I even do any of that, right? And how do I even do that, or what's that going to look like? And it took me a lot to learn, and I had to go through a lot of learning around that, and and what it takes to do that, and how much I have to focus on doing that.
Mhm.
And I lost a lot of possible opportunities because I didn't really know how to shift, because with the fitness
Mhm.
world, everything's changing, right? And I was stuck into this one way that I wanted things to be. And then on top of that, dealing with being in a wheelchair, still living with my brother, all these things that I'm like, why am I not living on my own again? Like, my whole plan got wrecked. It's like,
Mhm.
how do I shift from that? Right. And, now Equinox is open again. Everything's great. But it's like, it's not that, for me, that learning experience was, okay, how am I able to be open enough to shift? And then not only that, but then have the power to say and ask and say what I need, and then be open to change.
Mhm.
And those are the things that I've learned, and I'm going to have to hone in on learning.
Mhm.
And learning about gratitude and the power of it. I was in one of our meetings, and Chris Christopherson, who's our facilitator, one of the facilitators, the other gentleman's a guy named Matt Buscaldo, who ironically was a manager at Equinox at Santa Monica, and who trained Cameron, who is the
Oh,
manager at the Westlake
goodness.
location, ironically.
Cameron's still your
Yeah.
manager?
So
Cam-
Yep, he's the
oh
manager.
boy. Oh boy. Okay.
I'll tell him I talked to you. I want to hear some
Oh
stories.
boy.
So
Uh,
yeah, so he needs it's so funny. It's like Roya was our FM for a while, and she's good old Mama Bear. I love that
yeah.
woman to death. She's a
Yeah,
phenomenal
I worked with
manager.
her. Mm-hmm.
So she's over there at Woodland. She's over there in Woodland Hills now. But
Yeah.
so watching them go back and forth, the funniest thing.
Oh
But
boy.
but yeah. But anyways, what was I saying? But yeah, but Chrissy said, have you never, he's like, do you ever say you're grateful for the wheelchair? And that just hit me like a brick,
Mm.
and I've never thought about it. It's like, I roll in this thing, and in reality every day, underlining, resenting it, I mean, I can't tell you how uncomfortable it's been for me to even see someone else in a wheelchair. Like, that's one thing I've learned about myself is, I have, as much as, well, let me reel it back. So whenever you make that switch to moving forward onto something,
Mhm.
what I've found for myself is I didn't just move forward. I almost completely blocked off the reality of my situation. So instead of actually understanding the challenges and getting myself to be able to give myself grace, now not be a victim, but to be giving myself grace, instead of that, I would be even harder on myself because I'm not reaching the standard that I'm supposed to be reaching in my mind.
Mhm.
And one thing I've learned because of that in recently. And because when he said that, which is learning how to address that reality, because for years, if I saw someone else in a wheelchair, it made me so uncomfortable, because that was a true reflection. I'm like, wow, that's what I look like. Like that's what people, see. And and that showed how much I haven't processed about what I've been dealing with. And only with COVID and with doing the work on myself and making that choice, have I really being able to learn and learn the steps to process that. I'm only in the fledging, but at least I know I've been aware of it and seen and starting to see this stuff. And, if I didn't have that time to slow down with COVID, and be able to introspect, I would have never been able to know that and been able to move forward with it.
Yeah, that's the positive thing about COVID, is it's let us all kind of have more time that we didn't have before to kind of see things we might not have seen before. But I think it is so important to be grateful for everything. I love the thought of there's no good or bad, it just is. And I love that, because I used to be so like such a control freak. And really, like, if something didn't go my way, I would be so upset and try so hard to fight it. And it always ended up being so much harder on me and so stressful and so like just drama that was so unnecessary, because time would go by of something that, I had to let go of. I had no choice because it just didn't work out, whether it be a client I wanted, or a job, or a relationship, or a living situation, or whatever it was. And I'd be so mad trying to like hold on to it and fight it and control it. And then later I would kind of see the bigger picture of why that didn't work out and be so grateful for it. And over time I kind of learned, okay, I need to stop trying to control everything, because I clearly don't know what's best for me. Like, I think I do. I think I know what I want, but at the end of the day, I don't know. Like, and so now I love the idea of looking at, there's no good or bad. It just is. And be grateful that I've had the experiences I've had, because it's made me who I am, and it's made me be able to relate to other people that have gone through things that feel maybe alone. So I'm able to kind of show them that, no, you're not alone and you can overcome it, because I did, so you can. And I think that it's given me, kind of an advantage in life, and to also see my own strength of what I've gone through, what I've overcome, and kind of help me in other situations that I come, well, if I've made it through this, I can make it through that. And so now when something happens, I do my best to, like the other day I lost a huge client of mine who I've had for 9 years, who I really used as a crutch, like, okay, no matter what, I still have this client, and they quit, and I could have very easily lost my mind, because that was my security blanket, this client. And I immediately went into, which is how I know I'm growing, it just is. There's no good or bad. It just is. It was time. It's time, I guess. This is what is meant to happen. And I put it out there. I need 5 new clients to make up for this one. Like, I'm like, I need 5 clients. Like, this is, I need it by the end of the month. Or something's got to happen. And that week, and I'm telling you, I didn't get any calls through COVID for new clients, really. And that week I got 11 calls, 11. And all of them became clients. And some of these are just, so amazing. These amazing people that have come into my life. And I realized my job was done with that client that I've had for 9 years. Like, now I'm able to bring this new blood into my life. I'm changing these lives. A lot of them are younger kids with a lot of different issues that they're dealing with, and I'm able to help them and make an impact in their life. And they've already had these changes. They're like, oh my gosh, I want to cry. Thank you so much for it, And I realized, like, okay, this wouldn't have probably happened if I had this, this client still. And so you start to, like, kind of change your outlook on things. And so who knows why you were in this accident. Who knows why you're in this wheelchair? But you do, I think, need to look at it as a blessing and say, thank you. I'm grateful for this, because you never know where that's going to lead you. You never know who you're going to impact.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to have a book, a TV show, a movie that's going to like help people and make you super successful, you don't know why or where this is going to take you, but I believe it happened for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. And so I love that outlook, and you can't go wrong with that outlook on life. I feel like it could just help you.
When you said it is what it is, I swear I almost jumped out of my seat, because I've been saying, just with the forward, I'm like, man, I've been saying that for like 2 years.
Really?
It's like, it's not, yeah, like I've been saying that. There's no, because I remember I was doing a speech to the Oklahoma cheerleading team. I was asked to, and I just remember telling them, there's no good, there's no bad, it's just an is. And, that's the thing, like, how does it, and what I'm glad about seeing and glad about hearing is more people, and they'll say it in a different way, but it's that same kind of education, or that mindset, all right, around how do I see this? How is this, what am I learning from this? Or how can this serve me is another one, right? Mm-hmm. And no matter what it is, and there's some horrible things right there that's happened to people, but I think learning how to understand, the reality of the evil of the world that might happen, but then on top of that, be able to understand that where your responsibility in that situation was, and even if there was no responsibility, it is your responsibility to fix yourself and how to take those steps forward and to use what you have around you, and to be able to come to that conclusion of, I need help, to be able to say, mm-hmm. I need this, mm-hmm. I want this, I'm open to change, right? And I know for me, that's how I met Ben with the men's group. That's what's done for me. I mean, shoot, I remember my first weekend, I showed up hungover. It was 6 a.m. And there's this guy named Mike, and he said, yeah, question. He's one of the old guys. And he said, so he's, how are you in a wheelchair? I remember I finished the story, and he said, and, I said, yeah, I wish it was something more miraculous. And he said, he cussed me out. He said, what does that matter? And it's like, it doesn't matter how your situation happened. It doesn't matter what the situation is. Mm-hmm. It just is. Mm-hmm. And it's how you move forward and deal with it. And then to bring it back to the gratitude thing, Chris asked me, do you ever say how grateful you are to your wheelchair? It carries you everywhere. Like this is my legs. He is my legs, right? So I say he, because I'm a Game of Thrones fan. Mm-hmm. So I'm a big nerd, very big nerd. And hence the anime poster in the side of the room. So, but I ended up naming with the guys in the group helped me come up with the name. It was Hodor. And so, if any of your listeners know anything about Game of Thrones, Hodor was this big kind of giant, bigger than life character who carried this guy Bran, who was a paraplegic in the show, around across everywhere, and ended up sacrificing himself for him. But yeah, believe me, my wheelchair has sacrificed itself for me.
That's good.
But learning even how to, learning even how to actually address that and to be appreciative for it, is so powerful to me. Because when he said that, it just, it's like, whoa.
That is
and
amazing.
Yeah.
It's a good lesson to learn. Well, I think you're amazing. I am excited to see, everything that you do. You got to get this podcast. When is this podcast coming out?
So I got to get a few more episodes on the table, right? I've reached out to a few people. I'm waiting to hear sometimes back. I'm they put me on the spot.
Well,
So,
do you know what it's,
woo,
yeah, well, we
woo.
gotta, you gotta
Oh
set a
man,
date and you gotta meet it and then you have to do it
right,
because you're gonna
right.
say
Give it,
it.
give me, yeah, give it. Let's see here. What's today's date? How about this? I would say the first episode should drop a month from now. Right? The
Okay.
first episode drop should be about a
So
month
big,
from now.
yeah,
And
beginning.
the podcast, yeah. So the podcast, the goal of it is to have similar conscious topics like this, right? And talking to people, inspiring stories. But not only that, but then to delve deep on and really kind of talk to people on their views on these greater topics that we don't really discuss, like whether it's masculinity, whether it's fitness, whether it's
Mhm.
politics, but more so, picking people's brains. And for me, picking people's brains about how they see the world, right? And,
Mhm.
you know, and to, how different ways of healing kind of be. Like one of the first episodes is going to be with a guy named John Slicker. This man is a practitioner of Qigong. He's taught it for many years. He's been to Tibet. He's been under many masters. He's been to a plethora of different energetic works, and his wealth of knowledge of just healing and how in that more holistic view of health is just phenomenal. And having people like on that, to broaden people's spectrums of what health and wellness and personal development is. And that's
Mhm.
in a nutshell what it is. And it's for me, it's what I'm interested in about. And because, I'm curious, right?
Mhm.
I'm all about something.
Mhm.
I'm that type of guy. I'll buy like 5 different books when I get excited about something. And then I'm like,
Mhm.
oh wait, I got to finish one.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and, but having a ton of different people on, and just having these conversations and asking uncensored questions, and
Yeah.
that's kind of what I want. It's what it's going to be about, right?
That's great. I look
It's
forward
going to
to
flow
it.
how it flows, and yeah,
I look
and
forward
then
to it.
hopefully I can shut up enough for people to talk, right? So
No, you're great. You're great. I've really enjoyed this.
yeah.
Where can people find you, like on Instagram or a website, so that when the podcast comes out, they can find it? What's your Instagram?
Yeah, so the Instagram is _inside_job_fitness_. And then the website is MBF, so mbftraining.com.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much. I really enjoyed this. I love your story. We have a lot in common. I look forward to meeting you in person one of these days.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
I'll come by
But again,
Equinox.
just to reflect something back to, come on back. Yeah, that'd be great. I'll put you through a workout.
Yeah, let's do
So, but
it.
no, let's set that up. That'd be wonderful.
Okay.
So, yeah, but just to reflect some love back to you, I just want you to say I've had a phenomenal experience with this. I think you did very well. Your story is very powerful. You have quite a bit of a radiance to you. That's, it's very compelling. I can see why people want to be around you, and I hope you continue to deliver that to others. And I
Oh,
can
thank
help you
you.
continue on this path you're going, because it's wonderful. And I mean, you're doing good work, and hopefully, it can only get up from here, right?
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. That means a lot. Thank you. And right back at you. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it.
All right.
And
We'll
hopefully I can
take.
get more of your tan. I'm feeling pale right now. Jeez.
Oh, I fell asleep at the beach the other day and I am burnt. Don't let this fool you. This is all makeup. I am burnt. A year inside didn't. I never used to burn, and now a year inside has changed my whole my whole makeup. But thank you so much. So
Thank you.
have a great day. Thank you. We'll see you soon.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.